Okay, so this is my Jet 2 holiday story. So I was planning to go to Africa, and my sister was joining me, and we were planning this trip, and she said that she wanted to go on a gorilla trek. So I was like, I want to go on a gorilla trek too, FOMO. So she handled all the details with booking this gorilla trek, and I just showed up to that part of the trip. So the day before, we drove from Rwanda to Uganda to the top of this tall mountain where the Bwindi Impenetrable National Park was located. After we checked in, our driver told us to meet him in the lobby area around 7 a.m. the next morning. So the next morning we woke up, it was pouring down rain. It was raining cats and dogs. It was lightning, it was thundering, and it was raining. So we looked at each other and we didn't know if we were going to be able to go on the trek at all because it was raining so bad. My sister looked up the weather in the area to see, what time the rain would stop or if it would stop at all. It said that the rain would stop at 7. And right on time, like clockwork, the rain stopped at 7. So we made our way up to the lodging lobby area and to meet our driver, who would take us even further up the mountain to where we would meet our gorilla trek guide and get the briefing on how the day would go. So after our briefing, we were separated into our groups. They separate you by gorilla families, and your group tracks that specific gorilla family. Our gorilla family was the Bushaho group family. That was the name of our gorillas family. And in our group, we had a Caucasian family from California. It was a dad and 2 college kids. The dad who told us he had just finished a 250-mile roller skating competition in California. It was a Hispanic couple that does this kind of stuff regularly. And then it was me and my sister, and we have never been hiking one day in our lives. So now we're with our guide, and he's telling us about how the trek works. He tells us that around 4 or 5 a.m., they already sent some trekkers down into the forest, and they will be communicating by walkie-talkie with these trekkers about how to get to where our gorilla family is. This is Owen, the guy without the hat. That's Owen. That was our trek guide leader. And the guy with the hat on, his name is Ignacio. So at this point, we all get in the car and we go even higher into the mountain. At this point, we're 7,000 feet above sea level. And that's where the hike starts. I'm right behind the trek leader going down the mountain. And if you recall, I said it was raining. So the trek, there's no flat land. There's no pathway. It's just rocks and going down the mountain. So because it had rained, everything was muddy, slippery. Then, there was no path. We were just walking on rocks following the guide. So I'm behind the guide leader, and we're walking down the path, and I'm scared because I didn't know what to expect. I didn't do any research about gorilla treks prior to going, and I don't know. I didn't know if the gorillas were gonna pop out at any moment. I didn't know how it was gonna work, and so my fear basically physically manifested in my body. My whole body started shaking, and I turned around to my sister about 5 minutes into the trek, and I told my sister, I said, "Tay, I'm about to cry." So now I'm crying. I'm doing a little silent cry. I got tears running down my face, and I'm doing a little sniffling. And we walk in, and Owen, he turns around and he's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay. I'll be all right." And my sister's like, "She's fine." So we continue to hike on, and we're hiking. People are slipping a little bit because it's slippery and stuff. And after a while, Hamina, the Hispanic lady, she asked, "How long have we been hiking?" And my sister had her Apple Watch going. She had her watch going, and it was saying that we had been hiking for 30 minutes. So she's like, "Oh, we've been going about 30 minutes. And Hamina's like, "Oh, okay." And we continue to hike on. So we continue to hike on, and a little while later, Hamina is asking, how long we've been hiking, because this whole time, Owen does not tell us how much time we have left. He never gives us any indication of how far we're going to go, how much time is left, how soon we'll see the gorillas. We don't get any of that kind of information. We just kind of blindly following him down this mountain, hoping to see the gorillas soon. So my sister looks at her watch again. She says, oh, we've been going about an hour and a half now. And Owen, at this point, is like asking if we remembered to pack our lunch. And me and my sister looked at each other like, we don't have a lunch. We remembered that the lodge told us that they would pack us a lunch. But I guess, I don't know, in the commotion of leaving and trying to get to the mountain on time to go on the hike, we didn't think about getting a lunch. So we didn't have a lunch packed. We only had water in our water bottles. Mind you, we didn't even eat that much before we left because we didn't want to have to pee or poop on the trek. So we did not have a very hefty meal. I had 2 scrambled eggs and a couple of pieces of bacon before I went on the trek, and I think my sister had something similar. And prior to going on the trek, I do remember Dan, the dad of the 2 college students, he bought a bag of bananas. So like my sister said, we've been hiking like an hour and a half. And it's a beautiful hike. It's just lush greenery as far as the eye can see, but it's also kind of treacherous because we're going straight downhill. It's slippery, it's rocks, I don't know. And we've been going for like an hour and a half. That's a long time in my opinion. So, but finally, and he doesn't say we're close or anything. He just keeps walking. And finally we get to like a river or like a creek or ravine or something. And that's when the land first started to level out. And it's also where we saw like a bunch of bush, like vines and leaves and stuff that you couldn't walk through. So now the guys, they start pulling out the machetes. They start hacking away. They're just hacking away at the vines and the greenery because the gorillas are right beyond those vines and stuff. So we finally made it to the gorillas. So they hack away so that we could get as close to the gorillas as possible. We are maybe 4 feet away from the gorillas at this point. And the first thing we spot is a silverback. So we sit there and we watch the gorilla family for like an hour. We sit there for like an hour just watching the gorilla family. Here's another picture of the gorillas. And it's definitely a cool experience, but I also definitely feel myself fading very, very fast.